Welcome to Healthy Mind, Better Future, a podcast dedicated to mental wellness. We are all challenged by psychosocial struggles. Families are broken, jobs are unfulfilling, neighborhoods are unsafe. Poverty and illnesses deter us from quality of life. We're stressed, anxious, and in despair. Healthy Mind, Better Future brings awareness and relief to those with mental health challenges. It offers practical tips for managing stress and anxiety so you can positively function in society. Our podcast panelists are Dr. Adeyemi Fatoki, a board-certified family medicine and addiction specialist, Dr. Olaleye, a board-certified pediatrician and primary care physician, Dr. Kenneth Soyemi, a board-certified pediatrician and general preventive medicine physician. I'm Funmi Onayemi, your host. Welcome to Healthy Mind, Better Future. Today we're going to tackle a very sounds simple, but complex situation. How is it that we love our child, but we don't like our child? Is that even possible? So today we have with me Dr. Olaleye, Dr. Adeyemi Fatoki, Dr. Soyemi, and of course we'll have our contributors, Mrs. Dorcas Fatoki and Mr. Funmi Onayemi. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we just have it. We're talking about loving our children, but not liking them. Is that even possible? Because we do know that the emotions of love and like or likeness, you can say are quite intertwined. How do you separate that? And what would be the reason for not liking your child when you love your child?
Yes, it's possible to love your child deeply while not liking certain aspects of their behaviors, choices, or personality at times. So parental love is often unconditional. It's actually rooted in profound bond and a sense of responsibility to care and nurture for that child. So if you set certain expectation in your mind for a child to do some certain things and it's not really doing it or it's defiant to you, yes, it is very possible to love that child but not like that child at that particular point in time.
Dr. Caroline Olaleye.
I pretty much that's what I want to say, that I feel like you love the child, not like you don't like the child, but you don't like their behavior, or you don't like their attitude, or you don't like something that they're doing. So somebody can say, oh, I love my, even let's say siblings. I love my sister, but I don't like her. But what you really meant to say is that you don't like their attitude, you don't like the way they're behaving, you don't like something. There is something fundamental about the way they're behaving, the way they're acting, that you wish it was different.
Dr. Adeyemi Fatoki.
I've had situations where parents have come to me, or even with my own children, where they do things that I don't like. And I know this has to do with the age, So, for example, my teenagers, my children, when they were teenagers, there was a time that I would cook, hoping to come back home and eat after a long day, but most of the food would be gone. And I would just get so angry and throw tantrums. And sometimes they talk back. You feel like whipping them because, again, it doesn't mean that I don't love them. I do love them and I want them to succeed. But what they are doing at the time is very irritating to me. And I've come to the verge of almost coming to blows with my teenagers but how do you deal with things like that? And that's what I guess I'd like to throw out to Dr. Soyemi, who are pediatricians. And I know it depends on the age, what a child does or what a teenager does, or even your adult children, and it's different. So how do we handle those situations when we have them?
Even though you said everything you said, but we're talking about the mild examples of not liking your child. I had a situation in which I just listened, and not that I was I was really trying to get into this gossip. But this mother said this. She said, look, I love my child, but I don't like him at all. And when he went to college, I moved, and I didn't even tell him where I moved to. So from that moment on, I said, is that even possible for you to love your child and then wait until he left for college to say, oh, I'm leaving this particular property and you will never know where I live? That's beyond not liking, isn't it? Isn't that getting to be hatred almost?
Sure.
Yes. And I think that so they all come together because we have those who love and not like in such a mild way, like, oh, they ate my food. But what about those who really don't like their children? And we have those.
Human relationships are complex. There's several variables that may lead to moving out of a house on a child. So sometimes, without knowing the whole background of what has gone on, the complex relationship that has gone on may not even involve the child, maybe involve the parents that is reflecting back on the child. So sometimes it's always nice to listen to both sides of the story. That's the way I just look at it. That's just my personal opinion, to look at both sides of the story, speak to the kids separately, speak to the parents separately. I personally think it's always good to get a third party involved, and that may be a therapist as soon as possible, because especially if the kid is young, you really want to set your boundaries, to set your expectations for that child. Wherever that child goes with it in his life or his or her life always depends on the child and the circumstances.
Yeah, and this is a point in which we have contributors also join in. So we're now at a point where we can just talk about this in general. And so please, we're inviting Mr. Funmi Onayemi and Mrs. Dorcas Fatoki to join us now.
I agree that you have to listen to both sides of the story, because most of the time when things happen, it's in the heat of the moment. So everybody needs a chance to cool off. And so that's really the best thing to do. Cool off, and then you can come back and discuss it to figure out what really happened.
Yeah, I agree with what the doctors already mentioned. But one thing I would like to add, like Dr. Soyemi and Dr. Olaleye just said, love, there's a difference between like and love. Like is situational. Okay, it can occur because of something happened. And love, like Dr. Soyemi said, is unconditional. So you can dislike somebody now, you can dislike your child today, but still like your child next week or next month. So it depends. So one of them is conditional or situational, one of them is unconditional. So love has a root, which is a foundation. So like personally is something that is lack of something. Somebody did something you don't like, and your child, so that way you show your resentment or something. But once that situation is corrected, it can be modified.
We're really talking about frustration on the parents' part, on a mild way. But then when we continue to do this, and that child feels as if my father or my mother doesn't like me, that is really brutal. That is a very serious matter, and we don't take it that seriously. So once they begin as children to say, oh, my mother doesn't like me anyway, what does that do to a child, Dr. Soyemi?
If somebody says that to me, I'll put that child aside. I'm like, do you really want me to be honest with you, or do you want me to, what are you asking for? Are you asking for my professional opinion or my personal opinion? What have you done? Because in my job, I see kids all the time. They come in there, say a whole bunch of stuff. And the first thing I tell them is, if I call your parents, are they going to tell me the same thing? Because I will call your mom. They'll now put their head down, and then you know the story is not making sense. So it's a two-way street. What have you done as a child? What has the parent done? Because trust me, at the end of the day, your parent has your back. Your parent will always have your back. If there's anything if anything goes wrong, who's the first person you're gonna call? Your parent, your mom. So you telling me something, the parent telling me something, I'm sure it's two different stories. You've done something wrong. And that's what I usually tell the kids. You've done something wrong. So don't come up here and be saying all these things. There's the reason why you're here. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. You have to listen to both sides of the story. There's some parents that are bad though. There's some parents that have done some shady stuff that you'll be like, wow, I would never do that to my child. Like getting bills in the kid's name, ruining the kid's credit, applying for loans in the kid's name. I've seen parents do some shady things. So sometimes it's a two-way street.
Dr. Olaleye, so when we have a situation where it's almost constant, whereby the child seriously does feel that definitely something is wrong with my parents, or they simply don't even want to see me. So we're talking about mental health situation now beginning to brew. So how do we turn this around for that child?
Definitely, then they need therapy. And when a child says that my parent doesn't like me, it might be a misconception on the child's part, because especially when you go through the preteen years and early teenage years, and even mid-teenage years, they have certain things that they want to do, and everything the parent sees, the parent doesn't know anything. And because you tell them you can't stay up too late, you don't like them. Because you said you can't smoke, you don't like them. So like Dr. Soyemi said, you really have to ask, what do you mean by that? And you have to talk to both parents. Are there some parents that are just awful? Yes, there are awful parents. But in that case, I really feel like those parents did not really love their children. So it's not only that not liking the children that I love. In this case, they neither like nor love the kid, but probably because they also have their own underlying mental health issues that needed to be dealt with. A parent that was abused as a child, they're more likely to be abusive parents. In that case, I mean, I guess they can tell you that I love my kid, but you really don't, because you're being abusive to this child. It might be physical, it might be emotional abuse. So the parents have issues. And anytime a parent, like the scenario you gave earlier, that the parent moved out, what on earth can your child have done to you that will make you say, I am separating from you now and forever? But they both need therapy. I have been an attendant in the ER before that I was doing the night shift. The mom brought her 14-year-old child and literally come and dumped it on me in the ER and said, I don't want her anymore. I'm done with her. So now you have to work with DCFS and stuff to find a place for the placement for this child. She just says she doesn't want to have anything to do with her child. And I cannot get anything out of her. What is she doing? What has she done to you? Why do you not want her anymore? She said she's bad. I don't want her. And the kid just have her head down the whole time. She had nothing. She wouldn't say anything. Well, I was very happy to leave both of them for the Child Protective Service on duty to handle it, because it was beyond my pay scale. I really don't know what else to do with this parent. So there are sometimes that there is a really rigid or really difficult situations between especially early teenage and teenage years. But one thing I tell parents, be calm, be patient, get therapy if necessary, because teenage years is not terminal. They're going to outgrow this stage.
My comment is on more prevention, is how do we prevent things from deteriorating to the point where the child feels that the parents don't like them, or the parents want to dump the child. Like Dr. Olaleye said, usually when parents are abused, we tend to mimic what we saw growing up or what we see growing up. And that perpetration of abuse or that cycle will continue. Having the right attitude, hearing the child out and trying to explain, learning how to communicate properly, it goes both ways. I know some parents, especially some traditional African or even African American parents, have the view that children are meant to be seen and not heard, and that goes along to with very religious parents too, but again, you have to know the age in which you're dealing with the children. The children that we are raising now are not like our generation, and we were not like our parents' generation. So I believe that communication is a very important aspect of fixing and working on relationships.
Thank you, everyone. We're now at the point in which we have to give our parents and our children nuggets. How do we work with our children? And for our children to also listen to how they have to work with us, to really have that mutual respect at home and mutual love and likeness, I mean, I don't know what I would do if my kids don't like me. I don't even know what I'll do. So please, let's just jump in at this point and just say one thing that you think one can do to let us love our children and like our children and vice versa.
From a very early point, spend time with the kids. It shouldn't be work, job. I know we all need some economic safety, economic security, but we should spend time with the kids. If on a personal note, if I could look back and do things, I'll do things a little bit more different in my own personal life.
I agree that you start early and you train your children in the way in which they must grow and when they're grown, they won't depart from it. You start early. You cannot wait till they're too old to build a relationship. And how do you build a relationship? Yes, you spend time with each other to get to know each other well and institute discipline early.
Yes, I would say provide a safe space for children to come to you and be able to tell you anything without fear of being punished.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. It just I think sometimes it's beyond there. And Dr. Soyemi kind of mentioned this earlier, because you don't know what kind of issues, that is going on within the household. Okay, it could be from the child, it could be from one of the parents or both of the parents. So we have to look at the underlying factor that is causing that trouble in that house. And it's very, very difficult because that child, has other parents outside. The parents might know that or not, but we as parents, we have competition out there. It's called peer pressures. Okay, so they're out there. So we need to be, like Dr. Soyemi and Dr. Olaleye said, we need to spend time with them. And remember that the child, you concentrate on the child. So don't put your values, on your child. Let child develop him or herself. I work so hard to please my children, but at the same time, while I was working very hard, I'm neglecting my children at the same time. So it's a vicious cycle.
On tips, Dr. Fatoki, you have the last word.
So I'm going to say two things. Now, just clarify what Dr. Soyemi and Dr. Olaleye said, and Mrs. Fatoki and Mr. Onayemi. Spend quality time with the children, not just time, quality time, and communicate with them. While I'm working hard, feeling like, okay, I'm working to send you to private school, and you should be appreciative of that. Maybe all the child wants is, let me just hang out with my dad like the other kids do. Let my dad take me to the football game, or let's just drive around together. So spend quality time and communicate so that you know exactly what your children need and what they want, not what you think they need and what you want to give them.
That's correct.
And if I may add my little 2 cents, I would say we should also be very aware of the cultural pressures. We come here expecting our kids to be who we are, meaning to have our traditions, to really follow that. And so because we don't want to feel ashamed when we are within our culture, we feel like we have to put pressure on them to actually act like us. I think we really should lay off of that a little bit to understand that, yes, we brought them into the world, we have the culture, but they were not exposed to that culture. So we should really limit the pressures we put on our children based on that. On that note, we now have a situation in which we have parents who love their children and they don't like their children. And we're saying to you, parents, look, it's not that complicated, okay? You have this child. Love your child. And within your realm of loving your child, like your child. What do you need? Please, whatever the issues are with you, find ways to get those results through therapy. And however you feel about your child, please don't ever, ever say, I don't like you. I don't want to see you again. It's really damaging to their mental health, and it could really be the damage for a lifetime. So we're saying to you today, love your child and like your child, because we brought them into this world. And really, they are us, mini us, if we have to think about it. And so thank you so much for joining us today on Healthy Mind, Better Future. We want our children to have healthy minds so that they can have better future. It's been a wonderful time with you. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Healthy Mind, Better Future. Pressures of life can get you down. Don't lose hope. Exercise your mind daily so you can function positively in society for a better future. Continue to join us as we offer tips to navigate your challenges and bring you mental wellness. Your healthy mind is key to your better future. Please subscribe and share our podcast. Someone out there needs encouragement.